Alright, welcome back to the Dirty James Garage. Hopefully finishing up our headliner reinstallation today. We got our headliner in. We're going to be putting that on. We got our board all cleaned up, our headliner board all cleaned up. We'll be putting that in today, and hopefully it turns out well. We'll see. Alright, we're back. As you can see, we got our fabric in. I went with the camo pattern for the replacement. Didn't want to do the standard gray stuff. This was like 50 bucks for 3 yards of it on eBay. It's padded, got foam padding on the back. It's plenty wide enough. I picked up some of these little clamps from Lowe's to hold things in place while I'm working. They're like $1 or $2 a piece. Good idea to have it as a helping hand. I got a big plastic body filler squeegee I'm going to use once I start gluing to smooth things out a little, help me get it on nice. So we'll get started here in a minute. You can see I rolled out, I cut off the ends just so we didn't have that in the way, and I put it aside so I could use it for my visors if I feel so inclined. But other than that, we're going to put some glue down and get this thing on. I'm going to start with the end where the speakers aren't. I think it'll be easier just to get started because I know we probably have wrinkles and things on that end. So we'll start with the easy end first and go from there. We'll get to that in just a second. Okay, I got 2 cans of spray adhesive here. One I got off of eBay, one I got from Lowe's. They're both made by Loctite. This one's just actually, it says medium strength headliner adhesive. But then I got also some of the high bond Loctite Professional, the 300 heavy. It's water and heat resistant, so that'll work just as well, I'm sure. Both are will work for headliners. We're going to start with the regular headliner glue. I'm going to do it in thirds. I'm going to spray according to the directions, put a coat down, wait a couple minutes, put another coat down. It says you should put 3 coats down. We'll see what it looks like as we go. And I'll put some on this side too, on both pieces. We'll let them dry between coats, and hopefully it'll do the trick. Let's see what we end up with. Putting it extra heavy around the edges. Okay, we got 3 coats of glue down. We're going to put this third over and get her down. See what it looks like. All right, got our last little piece to do here. Got our glue down, let it set a minute or two. I'm going to pull this over. Hopefully not screw it up. I'm going to do this one by hand since it's got the odd shapes around it with the speaker holes. All right, so we've gone around, we've cut out all the holes, got the headliner in, I just put a cross pattern in. If we have to trim more out, we'll do that when we get there. Cut a slot on both sides for the seat belt bolts. Cut out the holes for the front and rear lights. This is your rear light, the small light. And we also cut out the holes where your visors mount, put a slot in both of these places where the visor clip mounts. And I think we're about ready to put it back in. It's been sitting about a half hour. It should be dry enough to reinstall, so let's see what happens. All right, so now we're just going to start carefully feeding it back in just to get it in position. Once we get it in there, we'll try to put it back in place, see what happens. Might be nice if you have help for this part, but I'm going to go ahead and just slide it in. I did tell my son I may be calling him to come give me a hand. So I do have some help on that. All right, I'm going to go up front, pull it up over the front seats. Position. Over those. Get up front. See if you guys can see up front. Just move the camera a little. You do want to remember to do is make sure you've got your little wiring handy for your, you might be able to probably fell back in the holes. Put your wiring in position to back up your visor mirror lights. Pause the camera. No sense in you all sitting there. You might need a pair of tweezers or something to grab a hold of those little plugs to bring them down from the visor mirror lights. All right, so we got the headliner back in. I went ahead and up front I put the grab bar on the passenger door just to hold things in place. We're not totally done putting the interior back together yet, but I went ahead, I got it in position. I put the grab handle over there to hold it up and pop the two trim pieces back in place up front. Be careful, on my left, the driver's side, the clips broke a little bit on the plastic panel. They just popped out, but I don't know, for some reason the passenger side, they came out intact and it went back in perfect, but that one's just, once I get all the trim in, it'll be okay, but it's not as tight as I'd like it. So just be careful when you're prying off those panels. They're just like little copper spring clips that go into a slot, and if you aren't careful, you know, the Jeeps are old. This is an '01. It's probably been sitting in the sun all its life. The plastic gets brittle, and they broke. Maybe I'll see if I can find a replacement panel on eBay eventually, but right now it's fine. I'm gonna go ahead now. I got all my wires through. Had to cut little slits in the back here for the there's three hooks here for cargo, and they kind of hold the headliner in. You'll see when you get in there and look at it, there's three like metal tabs that poke through. So I cut a slit in the fabric and pushed the headliner up on them, and it kind of held the back end for me up where it belongs until I can get all the trim back in place. So now we're going to start putting the trim around and putting everything back together. So I'm going to pause the camera. Nothing much to see here. Just put the trim back on in the reverse order that you took it off, or however you think makes sense, and you should be fine. Alright, so we're pretty much almost there. Got the headliner in, got all the trim back, got the passenger back seat handles in, got the seat belts in. That helps hold everything in place. All the trims around the edges. Haven't put the speakers in. I've actually got some speakers, some aftermarket speakers ordered. Haven't put the lights in yet. I'll get to them tomorrow, because when I bought this, the front light, when I was taking everything apart, I realized somebody took the screws out of the, there's two screws that go in the front. It was hanging up there by the like slide in. There's two little things. You take the bolts out of the front, the little screws. There's two screws, and then you slide it forward and the whole thing comes down. Well, somebody was in there at some point and didn't put the screws back, so I'm sure I can find a couple screws to put in. But after that, I still have to put this back piece on to cover up this. And we'll get that on, and we'll be done. But don't see any bubbles. It's looking pretty good. Got it all camoed out. Kind of cool. So I hope you enjoy the video. And hopefully I'll get some more up soon as I do other things to this Jeep. I've been doing so much to it. Put fender flares on not long ago, Napier fender flares, and put an aftermarket bumper with a built-in hitch. Got an aftermarket bumper on the front, but changed a O2 sensor yesterday because I was getting that O2 sensor error. Fixed that. Now I've got a fan relay error, so I got to fix that next, so maybe I'll get some videos up for that. But hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon. I did want to make one quick note. When you're doing your fabric, at the front lip, I wish I would have left about an inch extra and folded it over just to make a clean edge. You can't see it, but it would have made for a tighter edge on that. If there's any advice, the stock one didn't have it, but I just think it would have looked better if I'd have pulled like a 1-inch flap over in just the front, because the trim covers everything else up, but nothing covers that up in the front. You can't see it from the windshield because the windshield's tinted at the top. But just a point, if you want to, do something a little above and beyond, that'll do it for you. Thanks, guys.